All right. Welcome to Let's Talk a Cinema episode 2. So we're back here again on Monday evening here for another episode of Let's Talk Cinema. So this episode we got quite a lot of stuff to cover. Last week, kind of a slow week to be fair. I mean, there was no, at least in terms of box office, there was no new movies. Premiering in theaters, but this week is kind of the start of the big 3 weeks and still 2 weeks to come yet before the end of the year here for Oscar movies, and we got a bunch of other movies, Mary Poppins, Aquaman, and all that, all those movies too yet to come. So, anyways, join with Greg again.
How's it going?
There so we're talking about some of the biggest news from this week, hopefully, and then of course box office, and then also Greg got to see Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse this weekend, so he'll give his thoughts on that one, his kind of review towards after the news discussion. So anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching live. Really appreciate it. If you have any comments, questions, stuff like that, put it in the live chat as we go. And, we'll definitely read those. And if you watch afterwards, also appreciate it. And you can leave a comment then as well. If you have a question or a comment or anything like that, we'll probably talk about it then in next episode. So I know Shane said some on the last episode about Instant Family, about how he really enjoyed that. So, yeah. So interesting stuff there, because I think we talked a little bit about it with the box office stuff there. So, yeah. All right. So let's get right into it then with our box office report. We're going to start every episode off like this, showing the box office numbers and a couple of interesting things about this weekend, and then we'll discuss that, and then of course we'll get into the news topic. So, all right, so here are the numbers from this weekend's box office. Of course, these are provided by Box Office Mojo, and these numbers came in, I think, earlier today, right? They confirmed numbers. So, here's the weekend box office for this week. Number 1, no surprise here, is Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. They brought home $35,363,376. I don't know how they get to that exact number, but pretty impressive, I suppose. Anyway, so number 2 then is The Mule, which was surprising to me. Took home $17.5 million. At the box office this weekend. And then number 3, we see some recognizable ones here. We see The Grinch with $11,753,000. And at number 4, we see Ralph Breaks the Internet, which was number 1 last week. And they took home $9,274,000. And to round out the top 5 this week, or this weekend, was Mortal Engines. Very disappointing performance here with a $7,559,000 showing, almost $560,000 showing. So, yeah, interesting numbers here. Couple of surprises for me personally, and very disappointing for Mortal Engines for sure. So.
Yeah.
So, okay, so then let's get, so those are the numbers there. Then let's get into just a couple things I'll share, and then we can maybe discuss some of this stuff. So, this weekend was the 13th time this year that the top film at the weekend box office was adapted from a Marvel property. 13th time. So, that definitely says something.
Wow.
Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse took the weekend box office crown with the largest ever opening for an animated film in December. So more record-breaking there. And Universal's Mortal Engines, which had an $100+ million production, may be even the biggest flop of the year. Here in December, as they only took home $7 million with their opening weekend here at the box office. So, not good for them. In terms of a total gross so far, Spider-Man, obviously, because it just came out this weekend, so all these numbers are the same. So, Spider-Man, $35 million. The Mule, $17 million. The Grinch now, though, is at $239 million, which I don't think, a lot of people may have predicted that. Ralph Breaks the Internet's at $154 million in total, and then of course Mortal Engines is now at 7.5. And it is also notable too that they only made $11 million in the foreign box office too. So they're only sitting at about 18 million in global box office here for their opening weekend. So anything that kind of sticks out to you here, any surprises or anything like that?
Not really. I think Mortal Engines didn't perform very well, but I think probably a lot of people saw that coming. Actually, yeah, not really. No.
And do you think the reviews for Mortal Engines played a big part in that?
What's that?
The reviews for Mortal Engines played a big part in that, right?
Potentially, yeah. I mean, this was its opening weekend in the U.S., right? I think.
Yep.
Yeah. So, yeah, that probably would have had something to do with it, and it just didn't really look, to me at least, it really intrigued me much. The product or the director and the team producing it, Peter Jackson's team, obviously would have got some people to go, but I think to me it just didn't look all that interesting. I've never read the book series, so
Yeah.
it was kind of a tough sell to begin with, and then the trailers, they looked okay, but there's so much or so many other movies to watch. I don't think many people would pick Mortal Engines over pretty much any of the other top four makers in this weekend.
Yep. That's a really great point that you make there. Is, for a lot of people, which you're rather going to see, Spider-Man and the Spider-Verse or Mortal Engines? Spider-Man, right?
Right.
And then you get the Mule or Mortal Engines. Probably the Mule.
Yeah.
Again, you can just go all the way down this list. The Grinch or Mortal Engines. Different types of movies, but I would say probably the Grinch and Ralph probably goes over Mortal Engines. So you make a good point. The four other ones were just, better. There was just better movies out there. So for sure. And you know what? They threw Peter Jackson's name around a lot with this movie. And he didn't even direct it.
Right.
I think a lot of people thought he directed it. Yeah, but it was just like he produced it with his, like you said, his team. But the way that they threw his name around, you would think that he direct and wrote this this movie. But yeah, just like it's just insane though that they have an $100+ million production and opening weekend, which is typically the biggest weekend. They only get 7.5 million domestically.
Yeah.
I mean, like that's. Yeah, I don't know. It might be the biggest flop of the year. I mean, it's definitely possible. We've had some this year for sure, but yeah. So I don't know. It's interesting, but I don't think it's really any surprise that Spider-Man took number 1. What surprised me though is the Mule. Are you surprised by that?
I don't know. I think Clint Eastwood, big time director, big time just person in Hollywood. I don't know how this would compare to opening weekends of his other films, but no, I mean not really. I think it would intrigue a lot of people. But like I said, I'm not sure how it would compare to American Sniper or one of the other movies he recently directed that had kind of Oscar buzz or whatever. But still a decent number for him.
Yeah, I was impressed. And then another thing that surprised me as well is that the Grinch performed better than Ralph Breaks the Internet. Because we saw these two kind of, well, they have been neck and neck for like the last 3 weeks now. And so I just thought that was kind of interesting that the Grinch now bettered them. And now their total gross is, I believe it's almost $100 million more at this point. So yeah, that was just kind of stuck out there for me. And of course the Mortal Engines kind of disappointment. I don't think it was like as surprising once we heard these reviews and all that stuff coming out. But just, like let's, for example, just throw that away. A Peter Jackson film with all the advertising and all these trailers that came out is just a little bit surprising. But anyways, yeah, so that's the box office from this weekend. Some interesting numbers there. But again, I mean, if you look at these numbers, it wasn't a huge box office this weekend again. No. But again, I think we're still just before. Like, I think next week is going to be big. And the following week, because a lot of it is the Christmas break, right, for school, for kids and stuff like that. That's coming up, and also parents too for the Christmas break, and that's going to be big. So anyways, those are the weekend box office numbers there to start off. All right, so now kind of sticking with the box office is we're talking about Aquaman, and so this is kind of the focus of the episode, I guess, or where we'll be starting here with the news. So here we go. Aquaman passes $260 million at foreign box office. So this one's from the Hollywood Reporter here. So James Wan's Aquaman is fast approaching the $300 million mark, even before it debuts in North America, right? And it's debuting December 21st, so next Friday. Or I believe you can see it on, like, the Thursday, right? The Thursday night.
Yeah.
Or something like December 20th. But anyways, has not come to North America, and it's almost at 300 million, right? So the DC superhero pick easily topped the foreign box office chart upon earning 126.4 million just this weekend. After last weekend's performance in China, right, with the 94 million. So now they have a global tally of 261.3 million in total. And out of that, it's 189 million just from China alone. Just 2 weekends in China, and they've already made 189 million. So that's pretty interesting there, too. So after first opening in China, so it was only China last weekend, but this weekend, it dove into an additional 42 markets. And so that's where they get an extra little bit here. And then in North America, they say Aquaman is tracking to bow to more than 100 million over the 5-day Christmas window. Interesting stuff. So they're basically saying that Aquaman's going to open $100 million domestically, which is crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, so what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's not too surprising. I mean, Venom did really well overseas.
It did very well, yeah. Yep.
It's a big action movie that it's going to have a lot of draw to foreign markets, and it's not too surprising. But yeah, really good result there for Aquaman.
Well, and this leads to maybe our kind of question that we're going to tackle later in the episode. About $1 billion for Aquaman, but I think early numbers here. Of course, it hasn't opened domestically, but almost at the $300 million mark after 2 weekends. Let's just talk about how smart of a move this was for Aquaman, right? To open at these foreign locations earlier than it did in the U.S. To get this extra money, and look at all the money they made from it, right?
Right.
So I think that was a really smart move on their part, because I think typically they usually do it like the other way around, right? Like it opens domestically, and then foreign audience see it, a while after, at least a week after or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so just really a lot of success coming out of this one, and the reviews that I've heard at least have been pretty solid. For it, and I think we talked about, you said DC movies are never that good, or are usually not good, right? But it seems like this one might be right in the path, or at least earnings wise, right? But yeah, so I just think this is kind of interesting stuff here for the foreign box office, and to hear this interest. But yeah, I don't think it's as much of a surprise that it's got a lot of attention in China, but I think the numbers are still very impressive. So yeah, so crazy stuff here, and we'll have to see when it comes to the U.S. and North America. We'll have to see then how much it makes, and they say it's tracking to make 100 million. So, and that I don't know if this is really putting it in perspective, but Spider-Man made 35 million this weekend. So, I mean, for Aquaman to make 100 million, that's big. That's big, especially for a DC movie, right?
Well, no, I mean, they make pretty good money, or they have typically. I mean, even the flops critically have made pretty good money. But yeah, I mean, this one definitely could out-earn quite a few of the predecessors for sure.
Like, I think a lot of people out there are talking similar to Wonder Woman, in the earnings scale. For DC, right? But I think Justice League was a pretty big flop for them.
Yeah.
And so I think definitely better than Justice League just already from these numbers. So yeah, Interesting stuff. Interesting stuff. All right. So, yeah, let's move on then to the next topic here. I thought I'd throw this one in there. Benicio del Toro to voice Swiper the Fox in Dora the Explorer movie. So they're making a live-action Dora the Explorer, which is kind of interesting in itself, but I thought this was great to hear that Benicio del Toro is joining it. So this was from Deadline. Deadline now confirms that Traffic, so I guess that was the movie he was in where he won Oscar for supporting role, and Star Wars The Last Jedi star Benicio del Toro will voice the villainous Fox Swiper in Paramount's Dora the Explorer movie. The pick is finally finished shooting in Australia, but del Toro will provide the voiceover, of course, because it's a live action. So they'll, I guess, CGI the fox in. Yeah, I guess that, right? It's CGI, not animated, but
yeah, CGI.
Yeah. So anyway, so he'll play the fox, and of course, I'm pretty sure a lot of people are familiar with what the story would be like. Of course, with the games and the original cartoons and all that stuff, right? So yeah, but this one, the movie follows a high school bound Dora leading her friends and her sidekick Boots the monkey on a Goonies type adventure to save her parents and solve the mystery behind a lost Inca civilization. And then the other cast, Isabel Moner, Moner from Instant Family is in it, alongside Michael Pena, Eva Longoria. They play her parents, along with Eugenio Derbez, Adriana Barraza, Korianka Kilcher, and Tamara Morrison. James Bobin directs the feature live-action take of the classic Nickelodeon cartoon series, and it hits theaters August 2nd, 2019. So, to me, this is the first time I've heard about this. But yeah, so I just think, what do you think? Do you think this one is going to be interesting? And what do you think about all these live actions being made now?
Yeah, I don't know. I think I may have seen Dora as a kid a little bit,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's not a property that really interests me. But yeah, I heard about this a while ago, but
okay.
we'll see.
Okay.
That's kind of the theme, like you said, of turning, cartoons or cartoon properties into live action with, Jungle Book and Lion King and Beauty and the Beast and all of these.
Yep.
But now they're kind of crossing into the TV realm. So yeah,
it's true.
I doubt I'll see it, but
yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah, no, for sure. And for me, Benicio del Toro, he's in Escape at Dannemora, a TV series, miniseries I'm watching right now on Showtime. Love him in that, and he's given an amazing performance. Maybe an Emmy-winning performance. He got nominated, I believe, at the Golden Globes. I think so. At least I think they got 2 casting nominations. But anyways, he's great in that, and of course I've seen him in Traffic as well. So yeah, just cool. It's cool to hear that he's in it, and I think Michael Pena, Eva Longoria, some pretty big names in this live action movie here. So yeah, we'll have to see. Again, like you said, I might not see it, but I just thought it was kind of interesting. And of course, Lion King, huge buzz right now with that trailer, right? And that's kind of the newest kind of live action that's being made, and I think it's definitely a trend, going forward with all these kind of live action remakes. And yeah, it's just kind of an interesting way that they're going. But yeah, so anyways, so we'll see what that one has in store next summer, 2019. And by the way, a lot of movies are coming out next summer in 2019 that I've heard recently. Yeah. So that'll be interesting. Seems kind of like a packed summer coming up. So next one is Keanu Reeves confirms his role in Toy Story 4. And I think you were telling me that you heard about this one a little bit ago. Right, and but now I guess he's kind of confirmed it now, and so possibly those were just rumors before. But anyways, just thought we'd give our thoughts on it. Anyways, even if it did come out a couple weeks ago. But so Keanu Reeves is getting in the animation game. The actor's built a long and storied over the decades, but he's never lent his voice to a studio animation project until now. So in November, Toy Story headliner Tim Allen stopped by the Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon and revealed that, so that the John Wick actor had joined the cast. So there you go. They really will surprise you with the toys they came up with. Alan said characters came back, and new guys are in it, and that is great. Keanu Reeves has got a great part. So here's some other ones as well. John Lasseter is poised to direct, I guess, or no, sorry, it says, this is from Collider. So the film story in general is a bit of a mystery still and seems to evolve pretty significantly from when the project was first announced. And at that time, John Lasseter is poised to direct. So anyways, Tom Hanks, Annie Potts, Rashida Jones, Will McCormack, and then director Josh Cooley took over. So anyways, are you excited for this Toy Story 4 remake? Or I guess it's more of a sequel, right? To the original ones. Yeah.
I don't know. I wasn't. I was pretty good with Toy Story 3 being the last Toy Story, but
okay.
Hopefully it's good. I mean, I don't know. I don't have the same amount of anticipation I had for like Incredibles 2 or something, where a sequel, everyone wanted a sequel. It wasn't like they made 3 movies. They were all excellent. They finished it off. The final movie ended the trilogy or whatever. Like that was just a singular movie. For Toy Story, you have 3 really good films, one of which, or the third one, I think wraps up the story very nicely. And now they're kind of unwrapping the bow, so we'll have to see what they do. But I don't know. I'm excited. I'll see it, of course, but I would have been fine with just 3 Toy Story movies personally. But
and you really liked Toy Story 3, right?
Yeah, I think it's a great movie, and it's a great ending to the trilogy, and but we'll see. They brought in some new talent, like I think we had talked about the last show.
Yeah.
Jordan Peele, Keegan-Michael Key, Rashida Jones, you mentioned. Now Keanu Reeves, a bunch of new voice actors. So we'll see.
I think it's going to be interesting. I mean, I think a lot of people are kind of skeptical a little bit, right, of what it's going to be, especially because number 3 did such a good job. So yeah, it'll be interesting how it is, like you said. I just think it's kind of cool that they're getting all these names now to be a part of it, which is interesting because it always had a good voice cast, right, for the first 3, but it's great to see some new names in here, like you said, Keegan-Michael Key and Jordan Peele, Keanu Reeves now. So yeah, I think it's going to be interesting, and we'll have to see what they do. Now, do you know, is their plan then for this to be the last one? Or
I have no idea. I don't know.
You don't know? Okay.
Because I thought their plan with the last one was to be the last, with
yeah.
Toy Story 3. I thought that was supposed to be the last one. I don't really know.
Okay.
But I mean, we haven't even got a trailer yet. I mean, we had a teaser, so it's tough to say.
Yeah. I know there was like a bit of a story there where Tom Hanks said that the ending left him in tears or something like that. Did you hear about that?
Yeah, I think I heard something about that.
Yeah, he read the script or something, and it was emotional. So maybe that does mean that it is the end. I don't know. I still don't quite, like, why did they come back for just this one, and then they're going to end it again, right? So I think a lot of people are going to really go in with high expectations then for this. If they're willing to kind of, like you said, unwrap the bow, and come back for one more time, then a lot of people are going to want it to be damn good, right? So,
right.
Yeah, so anyways, we'll have to see. So, interesting stuff there for Toy Story 4. And do we know when that's coming? Isn't that next summer too? 2019?
Yeah, I think it's summer.
Summer 2019. Yeah,
in August maybe.
Yeah, I think so too. So again, another
August,
another summer 2019 movie there. So anyways, let us know what your thoughts are on the Toy Story 4 stuff. I know a lot of people have an opinion on that one. So All right, so on to our next one here. This one is an article from bloodydisgusting.com. Suggested, by the way, they do a great job breaking down a bunch of horror stuff. The Walking Dead, they do a lot of articles on that, so bloodydisgusting.com is great. But anyways, so this one is the scary stories to tell in the dark film gets summer 2019 premiere date, or I guess release date. So produced by Guillermo del Toro, we've just learned today that CBS Films and Lionsgate will officially release Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark in theaters August 9th, 2019. In the Andre Ovredal directed film adaptation of the Spooky books. The film follows a group of young teens who must solve the mysteries surrounding sudden and macabre deaths in their small town. Zoe Colette, Michael Garza, Gabriel Rush, Austin Abrams, Dean Norris, Gil Bellows, Lorraine Toussaint, Austin Zajur, and Natalie Gonzorn star. And so what got my attention, of course, is Guillermo del Toro, just off the bat, right? With Shape of Water coming off of that one. Is he? Yeah, that's the last one, right?
Yeah, I think so.
I think so, yeah. So he's coming off Shape of Water. He also wrote the script for this movie as well. And Dean Norris, of course, from Breaking Bad, and watched him in Under the Dome, Claws as well. Big fan of Dean Norris. I think he's great in everything, all the series he's been in. And it's gonna be great to see him in this. Have you heard of Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark before?
No.
No. Okay. Okay.
No, I haven't heard of that.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I didn't really hear about it much. I talked about Dean Norris joining the cast. I mean, probably in July or August. On my channel, just because of, Dean Norris. I wanted to talk about it. So then I did some more research into what it is. And it sounds like obviously it's a horror genre movie. But I think we're also going to get that, that tone and theme that Guillermo del Toro loves to put in his films. Pan's Labyrinth, The Shape of Water, right? So, yeah, we'll have to see. But I have confidence in Guillermo del Toro for pretty much anything he does, right, going forward. I'm looking forward to this one. Yeah, I guess that's pretty much it. And again, another summer 2019 movie. So yeah, I don't know. I don't see this one being, obviously a huge box office sell. But interesting cast here too. Some good names in there. Other than Dean Norris as well. So yeah, some great stuff there. Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. All right. So now on to the next one. This is interesting, and I think this is something that may even begin to start a trend going forward. And so this one is the Amazon Prime previews of Aquaman. Hook near $3 million through these Amazon Prime previews. So are you aware of this and what this all was?
Not really, no.
Oh, really? Okay, so I think it's essentially like Amazon Prime, they made an offer to their members, if you were a Prime member on Amazon, that you could get advanced screening tickets to Aquaman. Now, okay. The whole thing, I mean, I don't think you and I could have gone. It was really in select locations, I think. Like, the whole thing was, if you have Amazon Prime, you can go early. But yeah, only if you live, in a certain place, and only, all this stuff, right? And the tickets cost a bit of money too. I don't think they were regular price theater tickets. But anyway, so the whole thing here is that they offered an advanced screening with Amazon. So the studio kind of partnered with Amazon here to get people out to see this movie. And I think it's interesting. They made $3 million on Amazon Prime advanced things here. And I believe it was just in the U.S. Was it in the U.S.? I think so. Or maybe it was North America. I'm not sure. Does it say here? This one's deadline on here, but I'm not sure. But I think it was U.S. only for Amazon Prime. So they also did this with Jumanji 2. Or Jumanji 2. Yeah, I guess Jumanji 2, right? Because it was... And that one didn't quite do as good as this one, but it did pretty damn good as well, too. So you do think that more studios should be doing an Amazon type of thing, or, something else to get people out to their movies earlier.
I mean, I don't think it, in the grand scheme of things, $3 million is not a lot
Yeah,
for a
yeah,
big movie.
yeah.
But I mean, it could be a nice promotion. Like you said, though, I would imagine it's probably like it's only in select theaters. So you got Los Angeles, New York, Chicago, like the major centers.
Well, I don't think quite to that extent, but you definitely had to live in a city for sure, right? But yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, it could be interesting, but I don't think it, like you said, $3 million. The movie potentially could have a $100 million opening.
Yeah.
It's kind of just cents, dollars and cents, but
That's true. But
I think definitely more.
From a fan's perspective, though, what do you think of it?
Yeah, from a fan's perspective, if you really want to see the movie early, it could be good. It depends. I'm not sure how much more. Like, I don't know the figures. How much more one of these tickets would cost than kind of your regular retail price on the release date, or So it really depends. But I mean, if you're a diehard, look, I don't think it's going to be for everyone. Not every movie you're going to want to see early, right?
Yeah, and not everyone is Amazon Prime either, right?
Right, especially if it could cost a significant amount more.
Mm-hmm.
But definitely for select movies, if you're a diehard Aquaman fan, you might want to see it a bit early. Yeah, I don't think it's going to. I'd have to see the kind of figures, but yeah, it's definitely interesting. I hadn't heard of it before.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. Like, cents and dollars. But I mean, it's better than nothing, right? Like, it's better than not, going with Amazon at all. But yeah, I mean, that's the thing that I was kind of confused about. It's like, oh, if you have Amazon Prime, you can see it early, but only in select, places. So, that's something that I'm sure a lot of people would be kind of frustrated about if they want to go out and see this. But I think this kind of gives a chance to kind of regular people, right? Not critics and not, the friends of critics that tag along to these early screenings and stuff. But it gives, regular people the chance to see these movies. And this was even for December 15th. So this would have been a whole week in advance to see Aquaman.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I just think it's a cool opportunity. But like you said, I mean, not everyone is Amazon Prime. We're not sure how much the tickets were, but I'm sure that they're more than the theater tickets. So of course that plays a big part too. But like you said, I mean, if you're a big enough fan that you want to see it early, I'm sure that you'd be willing to spend the money, right? For the ticket to go. But yeah, so I don't know. I just think it's interesting. They did it with Jumanji. Now they've done it with Aquaman and had some success. So I don't know. I think that Warner Brothers is the one who's doing this. So I think that they'll probably do this with more movies. If they can make, an extra $3 million, then so be it with this kind of stuff. But I think it also helps a little bit promotional wise too. We're just kind of getting the word out about the movie, right? People go and see it a little bit early. They have really good stuff to say about it, right? They get their friends to go.
It's good.
Right?
Yeah, if it's good. I mean, if
it's
bad,
it's
then
good,
that's kind of
that
reverse effect, kind of.
That's true. And Jumanji and Aquaman, at least so far, have both gotten some good reviews and good attention. So yeah, you're right. I mean, but I think they had a lot of confidence in Aquaman.
Yeah.
That's maybe something else to maybe discuss too, is their confidence, because I think this ultimately, like you said, definitely shows the amount of confidence they had, because if it was bad, people seeing it early is probably not the best. But yeah, so I mean, for example, like Immortal Engines, all these critics were saying it was bad, but imagine, a bunch of more people, seeing it early and then, saying it was really bad. I don't know if you could get a worse box office showing than they did, but maybe. So, yeah. But anyways, just a lot of stuff about Aquaman, and next weekend, it's gonna be there's gonna be a lot of anticipation, and I'm really interested to see what they actually get in their opening box office. But yeah, we'll get that next Monday in the next episode. So, anyways, and this is the question I was gonna ask: if you had Amazon Prime and let's say you lived close enough to a location, would you do this for Aquaman?
For Aquaman in
Yeah.
specific, specifically,
Yeah.
If it was, I don't know. That's a good question. I was excited for this movie, but it's not like I read the comics. It's not like I'm a diehard DC fan. Again, it depends how much more, or if any. Like I really don't know. But if I had Prime, sure, I might splurge. For Aquaman, I don't know. I mean, it's not.
Yeah.
It's not like for Spider-Man, for Into the Spider-Verse, definitely. For
Okay.
Aquaman, I don't know, but like I said, excuse me, if it's not that much more, bunch of friends are going or something, sure. But again, it kind of depends how much more, because it's not like I'm dying to see it, right? I can wait till 21st.
Yep. Yeah. No. Yeah. Okay. Okay. I mean, for me, I wouldn't, but that I'm not a huge superhero fan. But you know what? Like, I actually am. I think I told you this too. I'm kind of willing to see Aquaman, because it also, they're kind of DC, right? They're kind of separating from the whole universe thing, and I think this movie is part of that, and that's maybe another reason why I want to go. Also, Jason Momoa. I get James Wan and him confused all the time. But anyways, Jason Momoa, he's great. So this is a film maybe I'd be willing to see, but no, I don't think I would pay to see it early. But now you make a good point, we're talking about a movie that I really am a fan of and I know everything about it, then maybe, right? Maybe I do this. But yeah, it's just interesting to see, and I mean, great for Amazon too. I mean, I don't know if this really encourages a lot more people to get Prime, but at least it, tells their customers right now, well, here are some good perks for you, right? For paying however much monthly.
Yeah.
For our service, and it's just something extra. Like, if you sign up for Prime, this isn't something that's on that list of perks that you're getting, and it's kind of something extra. But anyways, all right, so let's move on then to the last news topic, I guess, of this episode, and this one has to do with Bob Odenkirk. We both love Better Call Saul. Have you finished the season?
Yeah.
I
finished it only like a week ago, but yeah.
Okay, yeah, you finished season 4. And yeah, so we both love Better Call Saul, and Bob Odenkirk, of course, huge part of that show. So Bob Odenkirk joins Craig Brewer's Dolemite Is My Name. I think that's Dolemite, maybe, starring Eddie Murphy. So this is a comedy coming to Netflix, and it's about the life of Rudy Ray Moore. And it's, of course, directed by Craig Brewer, who's likely best known for his breakout film Hustle and Flow. Have you heard of that?
Like, that's one movie?
Yeah, Hustle and Flow, yeah.
No.
Yeah, I haven't heard that one either. But anyways, so the description is real life story of the Reverend Rudy Ray Moore, a larger than life comedian, musician, singer, actor, and film producer in the 1970s. When he couldn't get work in Hollywood, he simply created his own, including the most well-known blaxploitation film of all time, Dolemite. So that's kind of the name of the movie, right? And so here we go. So the announced cast includes Eddie Murphy, playing the main character, Keegan-Michael Key, Wesley Snipes, Craig Robinson, Chris Rock, Mike Epps, T.I., and Titus, that's totally wrong. Titus Burgess? Do you know who that is, Titus Burgess?
Sounds familiar.
Okay.
I don't think I think it's Titus, not Titus. I think you got the pronunciation right.
I'm on a roll, especially the last, what did I say the last episode?
Oh God.
Charlize Theron. Yeah.
Yeah, whatever you pronounce it.
Yeah. Anyways, so this is a Netflix film though, and this will be dropping sometime in 2019. No date yet, but sometime in 2019. So This cast grabbed my attention, and then
Yeah.
adding Bob Odenkirk to that cast is interesting. And they talk about in the article, of course, Bob Odenkirk was kind of a first comedian. He was a comedian at first.
Right.
And now, and he's added Breaking Bad, a little bit more dramatic role, and now he's in a very dramatic role in Better Call Saul. But he is a great comedian, so should be interesting. I mean, do you know anything about the background of this or no?
No, I don't.
Yeah.
I've never heard of it, actually.
Yeah, I haven't heard of the Rudy Ray Moore at all, but I'm sure it was kind of before our time a little bit. But what do you think of this cast? I mean,
Eddie Murphy, I mean, that's starring in a movie, and that should be interesting to see.
yeah.
And then, I mean, just a lot of great comedians: Keegan-Michael Key, Craig Robinson,
Wesley Snipes, yeah.
I know that's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
And then Bob Odenkirk. Yeah, I'll be excited to see the trailers and stuff of this.
Yeah, I think it should
Great
be
cast.
interesting, and I think it's notable that it's a Netflix film, so we'll have to see. And that also affects, of course, the trailers and all the release dates and stuff. But yeah, and it says that the movie finished filming. So, and I don't know, like Netflix, I don't think they typically take quite as long as a studio then to release their films, right?
Probably, yeah.
But yeah, so we'll have to see when it comes in 2019. But yeah, this is great. I mean, I'm a little bit surprised though, to be honest, because Bob Odenkirk hasn't done much else during his time now on Better Call Saul. So I'm wondering if he maybe has a very small role in this movie.
Yeah,
I don't know.
probably.
Because you know what though, Better Call Saul season 4 was a year and a half, apart from season 3, so they did have a little bit of time in there. Maybe he filmed it during that, but I think that would have been too long ago, probably.
Yeah, I don't know.
So maybe he's like kind of filming it now, or in the last couple of months, and then going back to Better Call Saul. I'm not sure when filming starts for season 5, but we'll have to see. So, and I'm unbelievably hyped for season 5 Better Call Saul.
Yeah.
That'll be awesome, especially after that finale. Just even the last scene of season 4. So, anyways, all right. So that just about does it for all the news stuff. Some interesting movies here coming next year, and then also some interesting stuff about Aquaman too. And like I said, really interested to see what they will get this weekend. And yeah, so we'll have to see. Maybe we'll get to see it. I don't know. We'll see.
I'd like to.
Yeah, I'm willing to see it. So we'll see what happens. We'll try to see at least like one movie next week so we can talk about that. Okay. Your time to shine, Greg. You saw Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, and that is our film of the week here. So what were your thoughts on it? So actually what were your thoughts going into it, and then kind of how did it end up?
So going into it, I had high expectations. I mean, I'd heard really great things about the animation, just everything about the film, really. And like from the first time I saw a trailer, I saw it in a trailer in theaters prior to I don't know, it might have been just a movie last year or something. Okay. But I saw the movie and I was like, wow, this is interesting. All right, like they're diving into the animated sector. Marvel hasn't had much success with animation, and obviously this is a Marvel Sony, or it might just actually I think it is just a Sony property, but I mean it's a Marvel characters.
Yeah, based on
Sony. Yeah. Sony obviously has had Venom this year, which has done very well. But in the past, obviously their Amazing Spider-Man movie not the best. They collaborated with Marvel for Spider-Man Homecoming, but that was pretty much I think a Marvel creative team. So Sony just kind of put their name on it. But this one, I believe this is just a Sony property. So lots of hype going into it from critics and just from kind of people I know that have talked about it. And so I was very excited. And yeah, I mean, it didn't let down. It was great. About 2 hours, really, really exciting all the way through. I think the first 10, 15 minutes or so is just kind of an origin story.
Okay.
In a way. And so I think it really picks up maybe 30 minutes in, and it's just fast paced. You're getting a lot thrown at you. for the next hour and a half, and awesome animation. I don't want to spoil anything for people who haven't seen it. Animation is great. It's really great how they use different kinds of animation. Soundtrack, very good. With kind of the theme of the movie and the main character, as well as just how they use. I mean, I saw this in 3D, in IMAX 3D, so it
Okay.
was
Okay.
I got the full experience. But certainly, I would recommend seeing this in IMAX, or at least the best kind of audio and visual you can get. 3D, I don't think is a necessity. I don't think 3D adds a lot to this movie personally, but try to see it in kind of the best quality you can because the sound and the visuals is really important for this movie.
Mm.
And yeah, I loved the main character, loved all the characters who come in. The villain I thought was kind of your basic villain. It didn't have a lot to it, but I liked it. I mean, it was still kind of a cool fight scenes with him, and definitely love the voice acting of everyone. Yeah, really no complaints. My only thing is, and I don't want to spoil anything, but kind of the final battle sequence wasn't my cup of tea really personally.
Okay.
Um, but like I don't want to spoil anything, so I'm not gonna really get into it. But um, that was kind of my only issue with it, and it wasn't even really an issue. It just wasn't. I still enjoyed it. It just wasn't personally kind of my my favorite kind of
Okay.
final battle sequence. But certainly the rest of the film is really good. I would recommend seeing this. Probably the I don't know if it's I'm not sure where it would rank for me in terms of Spider-Man movies, but it's really good, and I think probably the best animated movie of the year.
No,
And so we'll see.
Incredibles 2?
Oh yeah,
You think
I
it's
think it's probably
better?
better. I don't know.
Ooh, okay.
Incredibles 2, I don't know. Incredibles 2 is good, but it's what Into the Spider-Verse does is if you were talking about animation, I mean, you can talk about the plot, you can talk about the characters, but just strictly on an animation, it blows out Incredibles because
Mm,
it does so much. It breaks almost barriers. It does new stuff. So
yeah.
Incredibles 2 is beautiful animation, Pixar, but just strictly in terms of animation, Into the Spider-Verse really just does everything. Like, and again, I don't want to get into it because if you go into it without knowing kind of much about it, it's gonna be a much
Mm,
better experience. But
mm.
I would say, yeah, it's gonna be one of those two films. Incredibles 2 might very well win the Oscar, but Into the Spider Verse definitely right up there with Incredibles 2 in terms of animated movies.
All right. Um, yeah, I think the animation stuff, I think Sony kind of took a risk,
Yeah,
doing that stuff because I mean, I might be wrong, but I don't think we've seen something to that extent of animation with
not in a movie this big, no.
yeah, with all different types of stuff. And so I think they kind of took a risk here, and it sounds like it's paying off. But you know what? Like, one of the only negatives I hear about the movie is like, oh, I loved it, but the animation kind of threw me off. But I think the majority of people are saying it was awesome, like you said. So it's just interesting that they kind of took that risk, and it looks like it paid off for them with this
Oh yeah.
movie. Big time. So, yeah, interesting stuff. And I mean, I'm not aware, but will this be kind of a standalone, or will there be a second one, or what are you thinking?
Yeah, I'm sure they'll have a sequel.
Oh, okay.
I mean, really, um, most films, superhero films, they make X amount of money. They're kind of due for a sequel, but this one
Mm,
really, I think, would benefit from a sequel because I think that sequel they can make a sequel that's different and really good and not just
okay.
kind of out there to make more money. It can be really good, and I think 100% they'll make a sequel.
Okay.
With that being said, though, it's going to be probably more singular because in this film you have a lot of different characters, a lot of different
Mm,
stuff being thrown at you from the comic books. I
yep.
think probably it's going to zone in more specifically on a character or two and then kind of tell their story. This was just kind of
An
like the title
introduction, a bit, right? Yeah.
into the Spider-Verse. It's just kind of showing you this universe and then you can take one character, make their own movie, right? That's kind of so I think
Wow.
sequels 100% going to happen.
That's,
See when it's
you
announced.
know what? I thought about that. It's like this whole thing is kind of like Sony doubling down with Spider-Man, right? Because of their whole thing, like, you know, they're not relinquishing the rights to Spider-Man, right? Who would they really, like, Universal, I guess, or
Disney, I guess.
or
'Cause I
Disney,
think,
or
yeah,
yeah, like
Disney is.
Disney, yeah. Yeah, so I guess I didn't think about that, but yeah, it's kind of like they're doubling down, and like you said, there's so,
But
yeah, sir.
sorry, this is different than like live action, right? Like they
Oh
still
yeah,
have
yeah. Well, yeah,
the
and it's separate too. And I mean, um, yeah, because Spider-Man wasn't in Venom either, right?
no, no.
Yeah, and so that's kind of a standalone. Okay, yeah, no, I understand what you're saying. Yeah, but I was just saying like how, you know, like are they kind of trying to build an animated Spider-Man universe? Like, is
Yeah,
that
I think 100%.
is
Yeah.
that what we could be seeing then? Like you said, a sequel, maybe following Miles Morales, but then maybe you could see other ones,
Oh
following
yeah,
the other Spider-Mans, or
yeah,
Spider-Men. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I think that's
Okay.
exactly. It's just creating a universe, not.
Okay.
And it's almost kind of they've kind of, and since they did it so well, they have really the Spider-Man animated universe now because they did it so well. They have they made a good decision. They took a risk on a movie that is very
hmm
different from kind of mainstream superhero movies, and it worked. So I think they hit the jackpot.
Wow. And talk about Venom too. How that overperformed. I think it's almost at 800 million.
Oh yeah,
That it's made, and nobody really would have predicted that. Really, a lot of people, probably didn't see that happening. So, interesting stuff for Sony. Um, with the stuff that they did, and I think you're right. I think they took a risk, especially the animation stuff, and really paid off for them. So, interesting stuff. But yeah, so you would suggest this to pretty much anyone, right?
yeah. It's a must see. If you're a superhero fan, if you're a Spider-Man fan, if you're a comic book, whatever, definitely go see it and go see it in theaters because I do think it would be a better experience.
And
If you
like,
see it in IMAX or
and it's a totally separate thing, right? Like you can just go in and see this and not
yeah, I mean,
see the other Spider-Man. Like you don't have to see Spider-Man Homecoming, do you?
no. It's
Okay.
completely separate.
Okay.
It'll make some references to other
Okay.
Spider-Man movies, but certainly you don't have to see any other Spider-Man movies.
Okay. Okay, so there you go. There's our film of the week, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, which also takes the biggest box office performance as well. So, all right. So thank you for sharing your thoughts on that one. Great that you went out and got to see that one. So a lot of people that didn't get a chance are probably pretty jealous. All right. So
Yeah.
our question of the week then to end off today's episode, or this week's episode, is talking back about, or talking more about Aquaman, is will Aquaman make $1 billion at the global box office when all is said and done? What do you think?
I'm not sure. I think it has a good chance.
Okay.
I mean, it started off strong.
Mm-hmm.
We'll
With
have to see
the
how it does in North America, specifically the U.S. But
mhm.
I think it definitely has a chance. I mean, a lot superhero. I mean, I think I'm not sure. I don't know the exact numbers for other DC movies. Um,
Yeah,
I'm not sure. Like, I don't. Wonder Woman.
yeah,
I
I'll
like I whatever Wonder Woman made. I don't know if Aquaman is going to make more. So that kind of. But again, I don't know the numbers off the top of my head.
yeah. So Wonder Woman box office was 821 million.
Right.
Um, so
I don't think Aquaman's can make more. Aquaman has the foreign appeal, specifically in China, but
and we've
in
seen that
terms of
for sure. Yep.
at home, Wonder Woman I think is a much more appealing movie. I mean, based on a lot of things, but it was kind of the first really good DC movie since the Dark Knight trilogy.
hmm
Um, it was coming off Batman versus Superman, where you saw the first. I mean, it's the first ever Wonder Woman appearance, and I know same for Aquaman, but Aquaman obviously was in Justice League. Wonder
hmm
Woman hadn't even been in Justice League yet, and I mean, Wonder Woman is far, I would say, more well known probably than Aquaman. in terms of
Okay.
superheroes. I would say largely, or at least more popular. And Wonder Woman also, it was just a really good film. I mean, I
Mm.
don't know if Aquaman has gotten the same or as good critical reviews. So I would say it would have to do very well in China in a foreign markets
It has so.
to
It has.
even pass, right, but
But
just kind of
more,
make up
yeah.
because
Yeah.
I don't think it would do as well domestically than Wonder Woman personally, but I
Okay.
could be wrong.
Okay. Uh, I think the comparison to Wonder Woman's good, and you make a good point. Is that it'd be hard to see this passing Wonder Woman, especially with the DC track record. I think that's something. But also, I mean, the reviews for it and the people like coming that have seen it, I've been positive. I mean, I haven't heard like a lot of negative stuff about it. And yeah, I mean, it's an interesting question. It might be a little too early. I think maybe after next weekend we'll see.
Sure.
I think if it's tracking to make 100 million opening weekend,
Right.
domestically, so that's pretty impressive. But if it's like over 100,000 or 100,000, 100 million, if it's over that by a bit, okay, well let's say 150 million, which I don't think that'll happen, but I think at that point I would probably be over. I'd probably be over the 50% thing that it may make a billion, but again, I don't think that would happen. That 100 they would reach 150 million opening weekend. That would be insane. But yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. I think you might be right. I think the foreign appeal might be higher than the domestic appeal. But it's interesting. Like they're almost at 300 million, or like they're approaching 300 million at
Right.
the foreign box office. So it's like they're already like pretty far ahead here. But let's keep in mind. I mean, how much more are they going to make in the foreign box office, right? Because China, they've already made what was it, 189 million, right?
Right.
So I don't know how much more they're going to make there. But yeah, I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I think it's definitely going to be close to Wonder Woman, right? I think we can agree on
Yeah.
that. I think it will hit 800 million. But if it hits a billion, I mean, and that would be a huge surprise. I think if it hit a billion, like I think going into this year with Aquaman, especially after Justice League, right? I
Yeah.
think that would be pretty damn impressive for DC to come out with Aquaman and make $1 billion. Crazy, crazy stuff. But yeah, I don't know. We'll have to see. Maybe next weekend we'll come back to this and we'll see what the domestic box office opening was, and then maybe come back to it. But yeah, and this is something that we'll probably not find out until next year, right?
Yeah.
Into probably February 2019 even, because they'll still like this movie will probably be in theaters for at least a month. You'd think, right? Maybe more.
Yeah.
Because I mean, like a movie like A Star Is Born was, I think, for 5 weeks or something like that, or a bit more. So I mean, yeah, for sure. I think it's going to be one that we can watch for. So, anyways, that just about does it then for today's or this week's show of Let's Talk Cinema. At almost an hour here again, but anyways, so yeah, thanks, Greg, for coming on once again.
Yeah.
And yeah, so of course next weekend I think it's going to be big. Probably a lot of news with the box office stuff. Of course, Mary Poppins Returns is coming. Welcome to Marwin. I believe Bumblebee is coming out. And what was there was one other one. And Aquaman. So I'll just talk about Aquaman. I forgot it, but yeah. So big movies coming out next weekend. So I'm thinking this box office is going to be shaken all over the place. And we'll have to see who stays, in their places for next weekend. But anyways, yeah. So tune in next Monday evening. We'll be back for Let's Talk Cinema episode 3. Anyways, guys, thanks so much for watching this one. And yeah, we'll see you next week. Thanks, guys.
See ya later.